You guys, I'm totally late jumping on today, so I'm so sorry. I was up. Have you ever gotten going on a project late at night and you just don't go to bed until like way later than you even want to admit? That's what happened to me last night, hence a little late getting going today. I had a kid not leave for school on time, and so here we are late. So it's the story of a mom's life. But what I wanted to talk about today is super, super important. So hopefully you guys can still catch this and take advantage of this 2-week window that we have left. So there's 3 quick things I want to talk about today. The first thing is the idea of a personal season and what that is. The second thing is small plus simple equals success. And the third thing is pulling the trigger and knowing the next step. And those 3 ingredients are what can help you get things done. Julie, I see you just jumped on. So fun to have you. All right, so this is the deal. So in a woman's life, typically there are 2 pretty productive seasons, and they cycle kind of according to what's happening with the rest of the family. So in the summertime, you've probably had the frustrating experience of trying to get things done and it just doesn't get done, or it takes so much longer than it should take, or it comes at the price of a lot of stress because the kids are home, and it's just that energy kind of in life where we want to relax and vacation and enjoy the outdoors and just kind of not run at the same pace. That is what I call a family season. But have you noticed how amazing it is when the kids go back to school or fall kicks in, there's just this new energy, and suddenly that balance starts to shift and we are ready to be productive and get things done. That happens until about mid to late November, kind of that week of Thanksgiving, and then it totally plummets and levels off, right? Because we're in the holidays. And again, just like the summer, the holidays are that time that we just really can't have a whole lot on our plates other than making that holiday experience memorable for our families and getting those important things done, and then spending that personal time celebrating the season in whatever way is meaningful to you. And then the cool thing is, and we all know this, the new year we have that fresh energy again. That's another fresh family season, or sorry, personal season. And that's a good long stretch. January through the end of March, mid-April is usually a pretty good time to really work on getting some things done. So when I've been able to accept that cycle, I've really been able to relax into family seasons and also be able to get a lot done in my personal season. So Kelsey, I see you just jumped on. Sorry, I know I kind of look like death this morning. I was just explaining earlier that it was a long night and a late morning. So here we are. Anyway, so what we have right now is the tail end of a nice personal season. And I find that when I really amp up my personal season prior to a family season starting, I have a lot more, I can give myself permission a lot more easily to just lean into that family season. So if I have just completed an organizing project or worked on some personal goal or something, my little tank is all filled up, and then I'm able to, really be present and give myself permission to enjoy all the things in a family season without feeling guilty, which is huge for moms. Andrea, so fun to see you on. I feel like I have to explain to everybody why I look like I just rolled out of bed, which I kind of just did. I was up so late last night, but I was working on something so cool. I will tell you guys about it before we're done. Okay, so anyway, we got 2 weeks, you guys, and then it's the week of Thanksgiving. So what are we going to do with that? This is the end of our personal season. All right, so then we're going to shift into the second thing I wanted to talk about today. So personal season, and then talking about small plus simple equals success. If you trained or coached with me at all, this is a familiar phrase. I see Julie on here. She's a member of my Life Organized program, and that's kind of a staple phrase in there. I'm sure Julie could hop on and tell you right now, we always bite off more than we can chew. And so we get these grand, have you done that? Like these grand goals of everything that you think you're gonna get done, and then you end up not getting anything done. And seriously, you guys, you have to look at it as you've got like one arrow to shoot and you're aiming at a ton of birds and you're trying to get all the birds with one arrow and you miss them all. So I want you to focus in on that one thing that's going to make the most difference. And really, my top recommendation is, what is the thing you want to close out the year having done? The beginning of the year, you probably set some goals and they've probably gotten kind of dusty and set back on the shelf a little bit. I would really encourage you, if you wrote them down, to revisit those or to think through what is something that you really wanted to close this year out doing. Maybe it's something more recent that's come up. You've got 2 weeks to really get some traction with those. And if it's a project, possibly something you could wrap up. If it's more of a long-term goal, can you set in motion some habits or some rules or some tactics and strategies so that you can start to get some of that done? I feel like we need to talk about some examples. Kelsey says, my goals are way too big and nothing gets done. Got to keep them small. All right, you guys, so I'm going to get personal and tell you about one of mine. And this is really sad because I have to own up to the fact that I haven't been accountable with something that I committed to in September. So, okay, you three that I can see on this video right now, I know you all, so you can all help me hold accountable. I quit taking as good of care of myself when I had my neck injury a couple of years ago. And so I just put on a couple pounds, and I keep telling myself I'm going to eat better and going to kind of do my exercise better. That is something that you can't just do in 2 weeks, right? So if that's a goal that you wanted to get done for the year, you can't just take care of that in 2 weeks. That's one of those things where we try to accomplish way too much in too short of a time span. All right, so what do you do if you have a goal that's like, I want to lose a little weight, or I want to be more patient with my kids, right? Have you seen that SMART goal where you have to make them smart, measurable, attainable, time sensitive, all of those? We have to shrink it down to something that we really can measure. All right, so what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you have one of those big goals that you really want to try to get started on at the end of this year, can you shrink it down to something specific and measurable? So for me, here's what I'm going to say. Seriously, you guys all hold me accountable. I don't want to eat after 7 o'clock at night. I get the late night munchies and it's the worst. And I know that works against me. All right, so that's one thing that I know I can do to take good care of myself. Another thing that really seems to help me is if I eat vegetables at every meal, even breakfast, like in smoothies or eggs or something. And so those are 2 things I can say that I know I can measure those, and I can really work on that the next couple of weeks. I can get into some habits of strategies at night of what I can do, mindset stuff of what I can do, you know, menu planning, different ideas. So I have those things on hand. I can kind of make those tracks, kind of start to blaze that trail in the next 2 weeks, and I can continue working on those during the monthly, or the season that's coming up of the holidays. But then I know that I am really utilizing this time well while I just have this little window for me. Julie, I'm seeing, let's see, there seems to be more peace if you can just be okay with smaller goals to be accomplished. Absolutely. And I love that you're saying that. I think we've experienced that in Life Organized, that when we do pull back and have a smaller target, it feels so good to know that we have one specific thing under our belt. So I love that comment. So, you know, small plus specific equals success. If you have a goal that's really hard to measure or takes more than a couple of weeks, then let's narrow it down and make those specific things that we want to do, like really know what they are and make a plan. It also could be, and this might be a little more fun, it could be that you've got a specific project that would be really meaningful to you to get done before the holidays. So this is maybe a spot, my brain goes to a spot I wanted to organize. Maybe you wanted to like repaint a wall or something, I don't know, do some redecorating or something around your house. Or maybe you really wanted to like create a scrapbook or something for Christmas. Okay, so think something along those lines, all right? So this is where I'm going to move into the third thing that I wanted to talk about today. Once you specify exactly what it is you want to do for these last few weeks, the third thing is you've got to know how to pull the trigger. So it's one thing to say I'm going to do it, but it's another thing to actually have that translate into action. And most of the time, the problem that we have with that is that there's not clarity in our mind of what that next step is. We're looking at it as one big project that feels overwhelming. And what we have to do is chunk it down into what is that specific step. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do today. You have this season, you guys, we have 2 weeks, and then life really is going to swallow us up. Okay, so be intentional. What is it you want to accomplish in these next few weeks? Can we chunk it down into something small? And today, in fact, on this thread, and I can see there's quite a few of you on, I'd love to just have you respond what it is that you need to do, and like what is that first step to get you started? Because have you noticed that once you start on something, it's really, that first step tends to lead to the next step. It's just getting started. And so how can you know that you've got the right first step when your brain's not super resisting it and it feels pretty easy? So for me, in the example I was using earlier about wanting to take a little better care of myself, I think that nighttime thing is pretty relevant. So I can already tell you, I've got to do a better job in the late afternoon of making sure we're eating dinner by 6 o'clock every night, or that after 7 p.m. thing's not going to happen. All right, so for me, that is going to be really strategic. That would be my next step, is what can I start doing about 4:30 every afternoon? Can I make that kind of time trigger in my mind that at 4:30 I'm going to start preparing dinner? And can I make sure when I menu plan every week that I'm looking at meals and making sure that I have go-to things that include vegetables for each of my meals? All right, so that's just a Jenny Layton thing. And you guys, I'm going to be accountable to you, okay? So in 2 weeks, the week before that Tuesday before Thanksgiving, you guys all show back up at 9 o'clock on that Tuesday morning, and we'll talk about how well I've done. I love this accountability, and I'll hold you accountable too. Those are my specific steps, and my brain can say, okay, 4:30, I can start doing dinner. And when I menu plan, I can start doing vegetables. So I want it to be that clear for you guys, all right? So whatever it is that you feel like you want to get done, maybe you need to organize the toys before Christmas. All right, so specifically, what does that mean? Well, I need to go in there and I need to start pulling out the bins and kind of looking at everything that I have. And the first step is just going in there and pulling stuff out and starting to sort through maybe the Matchbox cars. Is that what little boys play with? Now, I know it's been a really long time. Okay, so for the girls, it would be going through the babies or the American Girl doll stuff or whatever. Maybe that's your first step, but just that clarity is super important. All right, so I hope this helped you guys. We've got a good couple weeks ahead of us. Even though I'm tired and was up late, this has just energized me. I think I'm gonna go work out, and I already know I have my meat thawing on the counter for my dinner tonight. I'm gonna start it at 4:30. So thanks for helping me be accountable. Hope you guys all have a good day. It's fun to see so many of you on, and Andrea's already posted my project involves my 17-year-old's room, and I need to get him on board. Good luck with that one, Andrea. Wow, I want to make a comment on that one real quick. I think when your project involves other people's stuff, then we need to look at the pieces that you do have control over, because that will be the showstopper. So I love that. Love that we can talk about that. So obviously a conversation with your kid to get them on board is important, but are there pieces that you can kind of work through without them? If there's not some boundary issues there, can you go in and kind of sort through some clothes so that when they come in, you can say, okay, do you want these ones? Which ones are we letting go of? Where you really kickstart that process if there's going to be some resistance. And Andrea, I'll also tell you too, I worked with this darling lady about a year ago who had the same thing with a daughter that really was super creative and wanted to have her room cleaned up. She couldn't even stand to go in there because there was so much stuff. This little girl saw value in everything, but didn't think she was going to have any cooperation with getting her room done. And so she made it a girls' night, which is a little different than with the son, but she put on a movie in there and went and got treats, and then went in and said, you know what, we're going to watch this movie and have some treats and just start going through some stuff. And it was like this beautiful experience that she had with her daughter, and her daughter responded and was like, wow, Mom, this really feels better to get some things done. So that's like a 12-year-old girl, not a 17-year-old boy, but just kind of think outside the box on how you can make this a positive thing. Anyway, all right, you guys are awesome. Thanks for joining. Let's go get it done. Tis the season, tis the end of the season, end of our personal season. We're gonna rock it. All right, okay, in 2 weeks, we're gonna check back in. You hold me accountable, I'll hold you accountable. Have a great day, you guys.